Now let's go a step further than this. Beyond stress, what else keeps us from really having a communication that works between two people? In other words, if we want to make sure communication really works, where it makes each person feel good and it creates a new result in our lives, in our business, in our family, in our relationship, the only way we'll make sure that communication works is if we understand that communication only fails to work when two different people have a different reality about something. Now, what do I mean by that? When two people get together and they feel very strongly about what something means and they have a different idea of what something means. For instance, my wife and I have different rules for this idea of respect. See, my idea of respect is if you respect somebody, you share how you feel with intensity. My wife's idea of respect is, hey, if you respect somebody, you never raise your voice. If you respect somebody, if you don't have something good to tell them, you don't say anything at all. Well, you can imagine the kind of challenges that come out of that. We both used to have fights, and our fights were always because we had linked a different meaning to the same behaviors. I had linked a positive meaning to one behavior, and she linked a negative one. In other words, we held a totally different reality for the same situation. See, some people have managed to lose a leg or an arm or something like that, and they're not upset. Why? Because the meaning to them is not loss. Most people's emotion, whatever it is, starts with a sense of loss. They feel like they've lost respect or they've lost love or the person doesn't care as much about them anymore and they have a sense of loss and they convert that loss into a feeling of being hurt. And then they convert that hurt into anger. And then sometimes they express it and sometimes they keep it in. And eventually for many people this becomes depression because they don't deal with it. Well, most of our losses are made up in our head. It's because the meaning we linked. Hey, this guy who lost his leg by the shark does not have a sense of loss and he's not depressed and he's not angry. He's not even hurt. Just because he mastered the meaning within himself. But the problem is somebody will get with him and go, what's the matter with you? Have you lost track of reality? What's the matter with you? You lost your leg. And I'll sit there and try and get him to their idea of reality. See, if you've ever had an upset with somebody else, if your communication has ever broken down, it's either because you're just stressed or it's because you and this other person have a different perception of reality in this moment. You have a different meaning you've attached to the same situation. One person thinks doing something is wrong, another person thinks doing it is right. And that is where the communication breaks down. So how do we turn it around? The answer is we build a bridge, what I call a reality bridge. A reality bridge is a way for us to realize that, hey, the reason we're communicating, the reason we're doing this, even though we both have different views on this, is because we want to make life better for each other. We want to make our business better for each other. We want to stay connected. We want to build a bridge that causes us to continue to feel good about each other while we look for a solution that helps us to bridge our realities. How do I take all this verbalization and make it simple? Let's start with this. There are a couple of core beliefs that you need to have about other people if you want to communicate well. If you have these beliefs, what will happen is you'll interpret people's behaviors in a way where you don't judge people, where you don't hold a reality that's so different from them that you can't have any rapport. See, I can tell you right now how to destroy communication for the rest of your life with anybody. It's very simple. All you got to do is judge people. All you got to do is make people wrong. See, here's the cardinal rule that you must never violate if you want a relationship to last, if you want communication to be strong between you and another person. And that is simply this. Never, never, ever question another person's intent. You can question all day long my behaviors, whether they're the best behaviors or the right behaviors in a situation. But if you question whether or not I was doing it for the right reasons, like I was doing it just to hurt you or because I don't care about you, what do you think that does to the way I feel towards you? Well, number one thing it does is it makes me have a sense of loss. It makes me feel hurt. Like, how could you think that way about me? Obviously, I care about you. And if you keep fighting and you keep attacking, pretty soon you can destroy that communication with that person, maybe even destroy the relationship if you're not careful. So you don't want to question people's intent. How can we get around that? Again, by interpreting human beings and human behavior in a whole new way and by adopting some new beliefs. And here's the first belief you need to operate from if you want to build quality communication from now on. And that is simply this. People are not their behaviors. See, if somebody does something, it isn't necessarily who they are or what they're about. Have you ever done something yourself where after you did it, you said, I can't believe I said that or I did it? Of course you have. And have you ever done it and been embarrassed? Have you ever said to yourself, gosh, I wish I hadn't said that or treated that person this way. That's not really me. That's not what I'm about. Come on, have you ever done that? I bet you have. And the reality is, you weren't being yourself in that moment. You are not your behaviors, certainly more than your behaviors. You're more than your mind or anything else. And so if you're that way, aren't other people the same? So can't you look at other people and say, I don't like that behavior. But see, if you attack a person individually, you got a problem. Because we all respond to attacks usually by following back with an attack of our own. We defend, or we deny, or we push back even harder than the person pushed at us. See, if somebody does something that appears to you to be vicious, the first thing you might want to do is use a softer word. Maybe it wasn't vicious, maybe it was unkind. And secondly, that doesn't mean they're an unkind person. That doesn't mean you should make excuses for them or let them continue to do it. But you don't want to judge somebody. Judging someone destroys communication. It breaks down the lines of communication. Nobody wants to be judged, least of all you. So make sure you give to other people what you want. Give people the benefit of the doubt. And know that if they did something that appears to be selfish, it doesn't mean they're selfish. Don't generalize about people or your communication will be destroyed. Secondly, remember the core belief that people are always doing the best they can with the resources they have. Meaning, if this person in front of you is not doing their job and they keep screwing up and you're really upset with them, you need to stop and say, this person's doing the best they can with the resources they have. They're not an unresourceful person. They're probably in an unresourceful state. And it'll help you to remember that what you need to do is change their state and not judge the person. Thirdly, remember the belief that no matter how thin you slice it, there are always two sides. When you're starting to feel really righteous, like you're really judging somebody, like they're really screwing up and you're doing the right things, remember the phrase, no matter how thin I slice it, there are always two sides. There's another view to this, no matter how strongly you feel.